People are owned by their things. They don't own their things, and they let those things sort of control their decision making, and really how they're living their lives.
Seniority Authority exists to answer your questions on aging. The world has changed dramatically in a generation, with more retirees than ever before, living longer with more choices. If you're an older adult or have an older adult in your life, where do you go to begin to understand those choices? I'm your host, Kathleen Toomey, with over a decade of work experience in retirement communities. I can track down the right people to answer your questions. So send your questions on aging to me, and together, let's get smarter about growing older. I have a question for you. Do you have too much stuff? Do you open a drawer or a closet and grimace when all kinds of things come tumbling out? What about a room? What about the attic? If you're like most of us, you have rooms full of things that you can't even begin to identify. And yet, it's still hard to go through and downsize and decide what to keep and what to get rid of. Well, if that's you, this is the episode for you. My guest has spent her life helping people get rid of stuff in an emotionally, physically safe way. She has spent years helping generations of people downsize their homes and feel good about it. Stay tuned and you can hear some of the tips that she has for how to mindfully downsize your things. Thanks to our show sponsor, the Riverwoods Group, Northern New England's largest family of nonprofit retirement communities, where active adults find community, purpose, and peace of mind. Visit riverwoodsgroup.org. Now, let's hear from today's guest. Welcome to Seniority Authority. My name is Kathleen Toomey. Most of us find ourselves in homes that are filled with things that we don't need and can't bear to get rid of. Look around your home. Do you have a stuffed attic, cellar, guest room, or maybe all three? Do you wish you could live a lighter, less cluttered life? As we get older, it becomes increasingly harder to get rid of all that we have accumulated during our lifetime. It's not just a physical decision, it's an emotional decision. Things have meaning and have connection to us. And as we get older and experience loss, we hold more tightly to those things that we have left, even if it might be better if we let it go. But sadly, most people allow stuff to run their lives. They hold on to things and they let go of other lives, other opportunities they could have. And it's not their fault. It's hard to do, and it's not easy to do by yourself. That's where today's podcast comes in. Today's guest is Kate Grondin, an experienced senior move manager and social worker. In 2008, Kate started her own firm, Home Transition Resources, which was the first accredited senior move organization in Massachusetts. Since then, she has helped hundreds of families, multiple generations, downsize with grace, with calm, and with ease with her team. She recently sold her company to Wayforth and is the Vice President of New Business. She has years and years of experience in helping people downsize, and I'm so grateful that she's on the program today. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you, Kathleen. I'm so honored to be here. Thanks for inviting me as a guest.
Oh, it's always great to see you. And every time you speak, I learn something new that I can put into practice. I can honestly say that I doubt that there is a person who's listening to the podcast today, who, myself included, who does not need your advice. We are holding on to things long, and we are feeling guilty about all the stuff that is accumulated in our lives. And the very fact of downsizing, as I've seen in presentations that I've done with you in the past, sends a shiver through the audience because they know they need to do this and they're not doing it. And so I'm so glad you're here with some of your advice and suggestions.
Yeah, me too.
Kate, what do you think the factors are that hold people back? Let's just talk about what prevents people from downsizing.
So, I think it comes down to procrastination. I mean, people, it's procrastination is like a fear of failure, and it's a fear of questions without answers, a fear of the unknown. I think there's sometimes unrealistic expectations about how long it's going to take, and really it's psychological. And so what I'm trying to do is sort of flip that script and get people to see the benefits, and focus on the benefits more than sort of that fear of the unknown. Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I can see it in older adults who are retired, who have time, and who know they need to downsize, and yet they don't. So it seems like they are letting that fear of procrastination dominate, where they could spend time doing something different.
It's true. And, sort of when someone retires, it's really a good time. It's sort of a turning point. It's a time to pause, to sort of reflect on, how you've spent, your life, and then how you want to spend the rest of your life. And I think that one of the great projects that someone can embark on as they enter the retirement years is to downsize, because it really gives one sort of a fresh perspective, and the feeling that someone gets when they do complete a downsizing project is wonderful. And every client that I've worked with will say that. If I knew that this was how I was going to feel when I was finished, I would have started a lot earlier. But yes, you have the time. It's a good turning point. It's a good time to do it.
Excellent. And do you see in your work people that are trapped in homes that no longer suit their needs because of their stuff, because they are overwhelmed by the process of downsizing and packing things up?
We see it all the time. It's people are owned by their things. They don't own their things, and they let those things sort of control their decision making, and really how they're living their lives. And I think that because it's an overwhelming prospect to consider the whole downsizing project, people take the path of least resistance and stay put when it may not be the best thing for them or the healthiest thing for them. And I think that people don't know the first steps of how to go about doing it, and so again, that path of least resistance keeps them sort of stuck. And it's hard to see, but where we come in is that most of the times people who call us have been suggested. It's been suggested to them to call us. They may not have done it on their own because they don't know that help like ours exists. But when we are called in, that is the impetus to help them to get started, and it really can be very life changing for a lot of people. And they didn't realize it before the introduction of us. So.
And I'd love to dive into that, because you and I have worked together for years, and I've seen what a huge difference it's made when you enter people's lives. But when I first started talking about a downsizer in 2008, most people had no idea what that. People went into two camps. They had no idea what a downsizer was. And the second camp was, why would I hire someone to do something I can do perfectly well on my own? Which, a lot of self-reliant New Englanders would say, why would I hire someone? So let me pose that question to you. What is a downsizer? And why would someone hire someone like you?
So, so what we do is we go in and help people to decide on things that have meaning to them and things that don't. There are a lot of things that people are holding on to that they no longer use, they no longer need, they may be broken, they may be keeping it because it was a gift. I mean, there's just a variety of reasons people are just, holding on to things that they don't need. So when we enter, we help to break down that process into manageable steps for people, and they see that there is a process to it. There are steps to follow, and that can make it easier for them. Like you said, I mean, people didn't even know, what we did many years, and still a lot of people don't know that there is help like this available. But sometimes all people need is just a push to get started, and then they can do it on their own, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I think the question is, if you can do it on your own and you have the time, why haven't you done it? And you sometimes need that help to get started. And I know that you work in a variety of ways, helping people get started, doing the whole thing. There's a whole continuum of services, so people can kind of start and see how they feel. How do children factor into the downsizing process? Are they generally a help or not? And how do parents and adult children, how have you seen them navigate downsizing?
So, sometimes adult children can be a tremendous help, and other times they can really be sort of stumbling block and make things more difficult. And it's nobody's fault, and there's no, judgment. It's just that sometimes family dynamics make for, children participating in it being helpful, and the other way around. So oftentimes the adult children that we're seeing have very busy lives. They are, both working, some have children. It's hard for them to give the dedicated help that's needed. But what happens is sometimes when we're working with our clients, they want to know what it is their children want. And that sort of the decision and the back and forth, the kids kind of don't want to take from their parents unless their parents give to them, and the parents don't want to give to them unless the kids choose. So it really is something that we need to help to facilitate. And that's one dynamic that happens quite often. And so it's really important to get the kids and the parents on the same page with deadlines and sort of a decision-making process, so that it doesn't trip up the whole process and delay the process and stall the process. So, it really is, it really just depends on the situation. But for the most part, when we're working with our clients, it's very helpful for the children to deal with sort of the emotional piece of the transition, so to speak, as opposed to the physical, because we can do that. We always say, let us do what we can do, and you do the things that we can't do. And that sometimes is comforting their parents in a way that we can't.
And I would say that especially as you get older, having someone to help with the physical part is very important. But I want to get to one thing that I know is probably the biggest misnomer between parents and children when it comes to downsizing, and one that you've helped families navigate for a long time. What is the biggest fallacy of downsizing when it comes to parents and children? And that would be that my children are going to want my stuff.
That is the biggest. It's like, I'm going to save this for my children, or I'm going to put it in storage for my grandchildren when they get their apartment, or, my kids are going to want it. And it's just not the case. It is, sometimes hard news to break to somebody, but it's generally people, the adult children do not want what their parents have. It's a different lifestyle today. It's, for better or for worse, it is what it is. And so we're finding that there is a lot of things going to donate or going to consignment stores or auctions that may not bring the price that they're looking for, because there is such a glut of these types of items on the market, on the secondary market. So don't think that your kids are going to want it. Just move forward as if they don't want it, and if they do, they will come to you and ask for it. That's my advice.
You can tell your kids that you're downsizing, anything that they want, they can have, if that's
Exactly. I mean, they know what you're going through, and I think if there's something special that they want, I don't think anyone's going to hesitate to ask. Yeah.
And you bring up collections, and I know that's been a very popular question in sessions we've done together in the past. And I know that people always think that their collections are valuable, and they have a little strange thing that's going to, get thousands of dollars on Antiques Roadshow. Can you disabuse us of some of these notions and tell us what's worth saving and selling as a collection, and what is really not going to sell?
Yeah. So one of the biggest disappointments, and I know you and I just did a talk on this, is Hummels. I mean, I think people collected Hummels thinking, this is going to be a big payoff when I'm ready to get rid of them. And in fact, it is something that has been such a disappointment to so many people, and people have a lot of them. And right now they're going for like $5 a piece, if that. So I think, yes, people, the collections and the expectations that someone should have when they are, getting rid of their collections and having someone either appraise them or come and make an offer to purchase, they should do a little bit of research ahead of time just to manage expectations, because I think that's, people can be disappointed.
Exactly. And there are some things, like, I know you said silver plate is worthless. Silver, you might get something if you have a set of silver. Are there any other things that you would say to people, any other one-offs that you would say, don't hold on to this, hold on to that?
So one of the hardest things for us to get rid of are dining room sets. For people, people are building homes that maybe don't even have a formal dining room anymore. People are eating their dinners at a kitchen island or an eating kitchen. It's much more casual. So a lot of the dining room sets we have, difficulty getting rid of. Brown furniture. I know there's been a lot written about brown furniture, and it's really anything that's, brown wood, and it may be great quality furniture, and it is great quality furniture, but no one seems to want it. So, something that you might have purchased for, thousands of dollars, a curio cabinet, for example, may not even sell, may not even go for free. Honestly, I did an auction recently where there was a beautiful break front, and I couldn't get anyone to even take it for free. So we needed to disassemble it, which was heartbreaking. But those are the types of things that I think that if people can manage expectations like that, the whole process of downsizing will be much more positive. You don't want to be disappointed time and time again throughout the process. So I think managing those expectations ahead of time is going to make things easier for you.
So don't expect to find a nest egg in all of your collected things, I think is a good.
Yes, but having said that, there are things that you may not think have value that do have value. So I always tell people when I start out, don't throw anything away. Let's have someone come to your home and take a look at what you have. Because I was working with a client who had some World War II memorabilia, and he was going to throw it out. And I said, wait, don't do that. I don't know if it's worth anything, but let's just see. And it happened that he made a few $100s off something he was going to throw away. So I think that, like I said, when we start working with someone, we just say, let's have someone come through the home and appraise some of your items, just in case. And then we can get the dumpster.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. What would your tips be for someone starting out? What do you think the top few tips are to think about when you're starting to downsize?
So I think getting started is the hardest part, and we talked about that earlier. So I think that some of the things that can motivate you to get started is to get a calendar, make yourself a project calendar and just put little appointments on the calendar so that you can map out on the calendar how long it's going to take you. I think that's one of the, not knowing how long it's going to take. So if you take a little bit of time in the beginning to map it out, that will help you. I think also too, if you gather your tools, that kind of can be motivating. So go out and buy some painter's tape so that you can tag things. Go get some boxes and some markers so that you can, start building some boxes for donated items and items that you want to sell. Also, start like in a room that's low priority, like a guest room, where there's not so many emotions attached. So if you start in a guest room and start doing that downsizing process, you will get some practice. You will see that you can continue. And I think if you make a checklist also, just make a list of all the things that you need to get done. And post it on your refrigerator and start checking things off, because that can be motivating too. When you look at that every day and it's like, okay, I can check off something else. That can help you to just keep going. So there's just, there's lots of little things, but those are just a few that will help get you over the hump.
Yeah, I like that idea of starting in the low priority areas. Then you get a sense of accomplishment, and then you can go on to bigger things. And if if you're stuck in the low priority areas, that's going to be a challenge for you.
Yes, that's a window into your future. Wait till you get to the kitchen or your bedroom.
Exactly. You mentioned donating, and I'm wondering, is there a clearinghouse that you would recommend that people check on to donate? Are there certain places to donate that you recommend?
So, since COVID, it's been a little bit tricky. But there are charities who are taking items now. But I have to say that they are getting pickier as time goes on, and it has nothing to do with COVID. It just has to do with how much is being donated right now. But places like Goodwill or Salvation Army are good. We donate a lot to Habitat for Humanity. They take a lot of items. I don't know of you speak of a clearinghouse, like, I'm not sure, like if you went to or you wanted to find out what something was worth, you would go to like a Craigslist or an eBay just to check and see the worth of something. There are, charities that you can drive things to. There are charities that will pick up items for you depending on what you have. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. It's a lot of look at a lot of different sources to understand where you can donate your items. And most places I know will give you a letter for your taxes and
And my recommendation would be to someone to, charities right now like to see pictures of what they're going to be picking up. So, sending pictures, just communicating with them ahead of time so that you're not disappointed when they come to your house and they won't take the sofa that you thought they were going to take. So just, communicating with them ahead of time and making sure what they want and what they don't want.
okay. And what are your thoughts or recommendations on people who want to sell their own items on eBay or Craigslist? Is that effective, do you think? Is that something that takes a lot of time? What's the time value?
Yeah, so I think that if someone has a comfort level of, posting things on Craigslist, they know how to do it. I think that it's a great avenue to get rid of things. Um, my recommendation would be that if you are selling something on Craigslist and someone's coming to your house to pick it up, that you put it in the garage, for example, so that they don't need to come into your home. Or if someone does need to come into your home, that you're not alone. And I've always had great success on Craigslist. I don't want to instill fear in anyone, but I just think it's being safe and smart. But that's a great place. Facebook Marketplace is another, if you have a comfort level on posting things, then, that's a great, and a little bit safer in my opinion, because, there's accountability on Facebook where there isn't on Craigslist. So there are those avenues to get rid of things.
And if you have children that want to be involved, that would be a perfect task for a child or a grandchild to say, you can be my eBay or my Craigslist agent. Here's all the things. And, if it's a grandchild, maybe they get a piece of it. But that way they're involved, if you
Yeah,
want to
that's a
go that
great
way.
thing. Great thing to delegate if you don't want to post it yourself. It's a great thing to delegate to a friend or family member that's asking what they can do to help.
That makes sense. Um, when you work with a client and you downsize their home, what is their reaction typically? Are they happy with the home with less stuff in it, or are they sad? How do you help them go through things kind of emotionally, and what's the end result?
So I have a story to share, where we are working right now with a woman who is putting her house on the market and moving. But what we needed to do is we needed to stage her home first so that the realtor could come in and look at it, which meant downsizing it to a point where it would appeal to the market. So we did that sort of in fear that she wasn't going to like it, because it was kind of, we just took down a lot of things. But once she saw it staged and downsized, she said, "Oh my gosh, I love this. I love living like this. I love what you've done." And because we had previously done a floor plan for her new home, she said, "Oh my gosh, I'm not taking as much. I love this feel." And so she revised her entire floor plan, to, sort of have the same feeling in her new home that she was experiencing now. So I think that is very common with the people that we're working with, is that they love the feeling of less stuff in their home, less to have to clean and care for, and it looks better. So that mentally it's just fresher and you're feeling better. So I think that's what she experienced, and many of our clients do. We have many clients who, in the same situation, we're staging their homes before they move, that say, "Oh my gosh, I don't even want to move now," because they really like that downsized home. So it really is a very positive reaction that we get from people. Very rarely do we get the opposite. In fact, I can't even think of anyone who has felt differently.
So it's going to help you emotionally, help you feel better in a new space. It may make you feel like you're living in a new home, even if you stay in the existing one. And if you have some time, it sounds like this is a really good thing for you to do mentally and emotionally.
Yes, it's a very good thing to do. You will definitely feel like, well, if anyone can imagine having paid off your mortgage or having paid off a credit card or a student loan, anything that's sort of been weighing heavy on you, once that's done, you feel such a sense of accomplishment. Feel such a sense of freedom. That is exactly what you're going to feel when you get rid of all your stuff that you don't need or use. So.
That's awesome. So if someone wanted to hire a downsizer like you, Kate, how does it work? How do you charge your clients?
Yeah, so most people in my profession will come out and they will do a complimentary consultation to find out exactly what it is you need done, and just sort of assess the home so that they can figure out the whole scope of the project. And from there, they will provide an estimate of costs. So we do a variety of things. I mean, we can, price a project, we can charge hourly, and we can break it up. In small manageable chunks financially. So, but you'll always get a price up front so that you can decide, how to put it into your budget and how to manage that. So,
And And I would think, is there kind of a menu? Because I know in some situations where people are moving, one service that you provide that people have loved is, getting to the other destination, unpacking a key room like a kitchen and bath, and setting your bed up so you can walk in, go to sleep in a made bed, and find your shampoo in the morning. So I think that's a really nice thing after you've gone through a rigorous move.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that that's one of the things that you should reward yourself with is having someone help you to unpack and make up your new space, because that is one of the most joyful moments we spend with our clients is when they come in and they see all of their things unpacked, in a new home after they've downsized, after they've been sort of through that long process of packing and moving and downsizing. It's just such a joyful moment when they walk in and see it's all done for them. So that's great.
That's awesome. As we wrap up, do you have any final advice for our audience?
Yeah, I think that, downsizing gets a bad rap. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, I got to downsize. I think that, like I said earlier, flip that script and focus on the positives. Some of the things that I mentioned today, think of how you're going to feel, think about the end game, and don't focus on the fear and the questions because they will get answered as you go along. The other thing is celebrate the small successes because and give yourself some rewards along the way because that will help to motivate you too. I mean, you're doing a good job and you should really reward yourself. And I always say to people just to remember that the best stuff in life is not stuff at all. So think about all the things that you're going to be able to do without all your stuff, spending time with family and friends and doing things you love to do.
That's fantastic. Let me pause on that. When you say reward yourself, I think that's a great. I want to make sure people understand, what do you mean by reward yourself? Certainly not buying yourself something else. Give me an example of a reward.
I wouldn't go out. That's a whole nother subject is how to maintain your downsized lifestyle. But no, you don't want to go out and buy things. But maybe reward yourself. It can be as small as going to the fridge and getting a Diet Coke or something and just sitting down and pausing, to finishing the day and going out to dinner with a friend. But just sort of celebrate the small successes because that will motivate you to continue. You may call a friend and say, look what I did today. Just make sure that you are acknowledging your successes and celebrating those.
Or maybe taking a before and after picture of a space that you just did and sending it to someone and getting a little kudos.
Exactly. I see that a lot on Facebook where people will post their before and afters and people love before and afters and it's such a sense of accomplishment and pride when you can show off something like that. So all those little things will help you to continue through your process, through your calendar, and you get to the end and you get to feel that feeling that I was talking about.
That's exciting. That sounds wonderful, and it always makes me motivated to go home and at least start with my junk drawer.
Totally. Go do your junk drawer today and you'll just get that feeling every time you open the junk drawer. You're like, "Oh my gosh, I love my junk drawer." You never thought you could love a junk drawer before. And you'll feel that way about your entire house when you finish.
Yeah, no, I think this is terrific advice. I have taken this advice myself. I've redone my whole home, and every time I walk in, it looks like a brand new space, less cluttered. And I think mentally, it really helps you to live in a less cluttered space. We live in such a cluttered environment with lots of news and social media. And so to have a kind of haven is really a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and I totally agree, Kathleen. And there's a lot of inspiration on the internet. If you go to minimalist websites and various websites that help you get organized and downsize, that also can provide inspiration to do it yourself, and to understand sort of the beauty of living with less and you kind of get excited about it. And that's what I'm trying to help our clients do, is sort of, like I said, flip the script. Don't focus on the negative, but really focus on the positive, because it can be life-changing, like I said.
And I think if you decide to do this, it's not thrust upon you. You don't have to downsize. You choose to downsize, then that helps you set up for a great experience.
That's a good point, because a lot of the clients that I work with are doing it and trying to meet a deadline. So it's something that they never focused on before, but then, they've chosen a new place to live, and all of a sudden they're selling their house and they need to close, and we've got, 6 weeks to do it. And so that makes decisions a little bit more forced and not giving you the time, so that if you can start earlier than that without a deadline, you are better able to make decisions that are going to make you happy about where your things are going. And, you don't have to be forced, like you said, into, making a decision that you may regret later.
Right. Well, that is wonderful. Thank you so much for being on our show today. I know a lot of you may have questions for Kate, and so if you have questions, just go to our website, seniorityauthority.org, and pose your questions for Kate, and we will have Kate answer them, or we may have her come back for another show.
I would
specifically, will you do that? That would be great. We will have Kate's contact information on our website and in our show notes if you would like to reach out to her directly. And please do put your questions in. Kate, thank you so much for being here today.
Kathleen, thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Good. Well, I hope it has inspired many people to go out and start clearing that junk drawer or that guest room, because I promise you won't regret it.
You won't regret it. You're right.
That's our show for today. Thank you so much for listening and viewing seniorityauthority.org. Thanks to Kate Grondin for helping us get smarter about how to grow older and be more mindful about our downsizing. Thanks to our show sponsor, the Riverwoods Group, Northern New England's largest family of nonprofit retirement communities, where active adults find community, purpose, and peace of mind. Visit riverwoodsgroup.org. That's our show for today. Did it spark a question? If so, send us your questions at seniorityauthority.org and we'll track down the answer. Meanwhile, don't forget to subscribe, like us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, and rate us on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, let's get smarter about growing older.